Hey everyone, I wanted to do this video to explain what I have been posting about for the past several months and to give you guys an opportunity to kind of see inside of all of my notes that I've been taking and why I am so passionate about teaching you all what is going on in the world and why the Bible is the one thing that makes sense out of all of this in a world that is so confusing right now. The only thing that makes sense is what the Bible has to say about it. So I am going to go ahead and just jump right in. I'm a little nervous. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I am, because there is such a responsibility to get this information right. There is so much information out there, and you really have to have a lot of discernment and wisdom to be able to filter through it and understand what is accurate, what is biblical, and what is deception. And so I'm going to do my best to try to explain all of this to you. And if you want to share this video, please do so, because I just want everybody to understand what is going on and why it is so important for us to really dive deep in with God, build our relationship with Jesus, understand who God is. The world tells us that God is all of these things. In reality, you need to understand who God truly is, because what the world says is not necessarily accurate. Okay, so that's a whole nother conversation, and I plan on doing a video and in my stories and stuff of really explaining who God is in the next couple weeks. So why am I doing this? It is not fear-driven at all. I have a lot of notes here, so you're going to see me looking down a lot, and this is a moment where I need to, because I wrote it down. I want to explain to you, it's not fear-driven, but coming at you with a reasonable explanation for what is happening in the world. I don't know if you all know, but a little bit about me. I have studied Bible prophecy for the past 10 years. I have taught on and off about Bible prophecy, about what's going on, how it applies to the Bible, and what we should continue to see in the future. I will just be really honest. Even 3-4 years ago, I didn't understand how some of the things in Bible prophecy were going to come true. I believed it. I knew it was going to happen, but sorry, I was just looking. It gave me a notification. So anyways, but I didn't understand some of, I guess, the ways that it was going to happen until this year. And now I can so clearly see how everything is coming to fruition. So, okay. And another reason why I'm doing this is because I don't know if y'all know this, but the Bible is 1/3 prophecy. 1/3 prophecy. It matters. It's important. It's 1/3 prophecy, but 98% of the churches don't teach on it. And there's a couple reasons why. First, a lot of churches focus on the gospel. Of course, the gospel is the most important piece of all of this, because if you are not saved, if you don't believe in Jesus Christ and you don't believe that he is the Son of God, then you're not going to understand prophecy anyways. We have to continuously explain salvation to people, right? Yes, so the churches are doing their jobs there. But in deeper understanding, the meat and potatoes of your faith, you should understand prophecy, because it is 1/3 prophecy. And Jesus actually said that we are hypocrites if we don't understand, because he has given us the information to understand. So if we're not studying prophecy, it leaves the door wide open for Satan to fill our minds with deception, deceiving thoughts. Things are not true. And I'm seeing that all over the world right now. I mean, I'll get into that in a little bit, but if we're not truly understanding what is happening right now and how it applies to the Bible, then Satan is going to use that and misguide us on and give us just misinformation. And then in turn, we might misinform other people, and that's a scary place to be. So, okay. It's really important for you to know that in 2017, I felt that God told me that the year 2021 was going to be very important. I didn't really understand why. I didn't know what it would look like. I didn't know really any of the details, but I told a few people that God had given me this information. I had told my mom, my husband, and my friend in New Jersey. And I said, it's crazy because back in 2017, everything was great. There was no reason for me to say like, oh, I think things are going to go bad in 2021. But I just had this heavy on my heart. So at the beginning of 2020, so like January-ish, I had it in the back of my mind, what is going to happen this year that's going to set us up for whatever's to come in 2021? Something has to happen this year in order for us to like be positioned for 2021 to be really major. And then I don't even think I need to explain to you what this year has looked like. So when all of this happened, it didn't surprise me at all. Maybe, like there was maybe a few weeks where I was like, oh, is this what I was thinking it was going to be? Like, is this setting us up for, the events of 2021? Is it not? I don't know. But as I've continued researching and studying world events, it's so clear to me that it absolutely is, and that God put that back in my mind and my heart in 2017 for a reason. And that reason is so that I'd be prepared for this year, so that I wouldn't be caught off guard, that I wouldn't be surprised, but instead I could just head into it with the confidence that I needed to be able to explain and teach exactly what is going on. Okay, so I have a lot of notes here, and I'll try to get through them quickly, but I wanted you all to understand that little bit first. Okay, let's talk about the year 2021 and math a little bit. Okay, so in Matthew 24, Jesus specifically refers to Israel as the fig tree. And so this is part of his speech because his disciples asked, Lord, when is the end going to come? And he was speaking about Israel, but he called it the fig tree. And just a couple chapters before that, he addressed that Israel is the fig tree. So we know that he was absolutely talking about Israel. And so he said that when you see Israel in full bloom, so there's a lot of prophecy to cover, but that is one thing that I wanted to quickly do. And now I'm going to try to write on the board here. If somebody could please tell me if it's backwards for you, I would appreciate it. Okay, so in 70 AD, Israel was conquered by the Babylonians, and Israel was no longer a country. And for end time prophecy to start happening and the birthing pains of end time prophecy to really start, Israel had to become a nation again. And in fact, the Bible tells us that there would be somebody who came into the area of Israel prior to it becoming a nation again and saying that it was desolate and barren and that it would never, breathe life again. And Mark Twain actually did that in the 1800s. And he didn't even know that he was talked about in the Bible, but he fulfilled that prophecy. You can go and research it and look it up. So, in 1948, Israel became a nation again. Okay, so we have 1948, and then in 1967 they declared Jerusalem as part of Israel again for the 6-Day War. So if we fast forward from 1948 70 years, we get 2018. Okay, if we fast forward that to 80 years, so 1948 to 80 years, we get 2028. All right, why is that important? Is that backwards for you all, or can you see it? Okay, it is backwards? Okay, well, maybe I'll just not write on the board then, and I'll just explain. So, okay, it's important because in this prophecy where Jesus was saying that Israel needed to become a nation again, he said the generation that would see Israel become a nation again would not pass until the end, and all of the end time prophecies were fulfilled. And that includes rapture, tribulation, Armageddon, all of that. The Bible declares a generation as 70 to 80 years. Okay, so I am going to refer to this and you can understand where I'm going from. So 1948, 70 years, 2018. So right now, we're at the 72-year mark. Maybe I am going to do this. Okay, we're at the 72-year mark. Okay, so get to 1948 to 2028, that would be 80 years. 2028 minus 7 years for the 7-year tribulation, you get 2021. Okay, that's just the first piece of this. Now, I am absolutely not saying that I know when the day or the hour of the rapture is. I'm not saying that I know the day or the hour of when the tribulation starts. Could I be off on this? Of course I could. I'm just telling you what I am seeing and trying to connect some dots. I'm going to steal this statement from somebody that I follow, and I absolutely love it. And it says, we are not declaring we know the day or the hour of the rapture, but we see the train of the tribulation quickly approaching, and we will be watching here and making sure that we explain it to everybody else. Okay? So it's just kind of interesting, right? That 1948, Israel became a nation again. Go to 80 years, what the Bible declares as a generation, and Jesus said, this generation shall not pass when they see Israel become a nation again. That puts us at 2028. Subtract the 7-year tribulation, we've got 2021. Now, the only thing that I will say about this to where I could possibly see this being off is that God said that during the tribulation, he is going to shorten the days, because if he did not, no man would survive them. So back in 2011, 2012, I'm sorry that I can't remember that date, we had the earthquake that hit Japan. It actually shortened our day like a millisecond. Of course, we didn't even notice, but it did. It shortened our day just a tiny little hair. And there's going to be massive earthquakes during the tribulation, especially the one ending the Ezekiel 38 war, which we'll talk about in a minute, that absolutely could shorten our days, making our math here, the math that we know, the time frame for days and years, off. Okay, so this could be off a little bit, but don't discredit what I'm saying, because we are still absolutely in that last part of the last part of the generation before the tribulation starts. So that's kind of the information that I've held on to for the past several years that I haven't really told a lot of people about. But now that we're here in 2020 and we're seeing everything that's going on, I'm like, wait a minute, I think there is something to this. I really believe that there could be. And so you all have heard me say before, we are out of time. We're out of time. There's no more time to mess around without knowing Jesus. We are so busy. We are a world that is completely focused on ourselves and not on God. And this is a year where God is shaking us loose of that and turning us back to him. And so had this year been completely fine, I would not be doing this video right now saying back in 2017, I had God tell me this information. Because I would sound like I'm crazy, and you probably do think I'm crazy, and that's okay, because that's part of prophecy too, mockers and scoffers. Okay, so now, my next point that I wanted to make is, okay, and I understand that it's backwards for y'all, but for me to explain it, it's easier for me to write it down, so I'm going to continue to do that. Okay, and hopefully you can just follow me. All right, so yes, I know that there are a lot of scientists and stuff who say that the world is millions of years old. No. I do not believe that. I do not teach my kids that. When they're watching their little dinosaur shows and somebody says, this dinosaur skeleton's 50 million years old, I'm like, no, kids, it's not. Like, don't listen to that lie. So, the biblical, and we know that God, if he says something in the Bible, it's got to be true. Everything is true that he says. So, the creationist viewpoint is that the earth is 6,000 years old. And I know that it seems like there's a lot of history in these past 6,000 years. And of course, there is. But let me break this down for you just a little bit. And this is just like another little aha moment that I got when I continuously pray, Lord, please continue to show me confirmation. I need confirmation. I am so sorry to be so needy, Lord, but I need confirmation. If I'm going to continue to say all these things that I'm saying and put myself out there and be bold and looked at like I'm crazy, please continue to just give me confirmation. And he just continues to do that. So this is another confirmation piece that I have that it just hit me one day and I started researching it and the pieces just kind of fell into place. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? We're 6,000 years old. So in the Bible, it says that a day is like a year and a year is like a day to the Lord, okay? So if we're 6,000, or maybe it's a day is like 1,000, that's what it is, I'm sorry. A day is like 1,000 years and 1,000 years is like a day. Sorry about that. Okay, so if we have 6,000 years, we have the first 3 is where the Old Testament comes from. Okay, this is there, Old Testament people there. This is Noah, Moses, David, Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Esther. These are our foundation pieces of the world. These are the people that that would be found in the Old Testament. You have the 4th year, the day number 4, the 4,000 year. Can anybody guess what happened here? This is when Jesus came onto the scene. Okay? And get this. The number 4 in the Bible represents a door. And to me, when I learned that, I was like, wow, that is so amazing. Because it truly, Jesus opened up the door for us to get to heaven. And Jesus is referenced as the door a lot. So 4, he came at the 4,000 year. Okay, so here we have the church age. Okay, so this is the age that we're in now, the church age. This is the age, where the gospel is spreading throughout the whole entire world. And then we have 7 and 8. Okay, these are still yet to come. This is the church age. Y'all, I believe we are, not even that, I believe we are right here, getting ready to enter into number 7. Okay, number 6 represents, do y'all know? The number 6 in the Bible represents man. Okay, so what does the Antichrist represent? Okay, the number 666. And I'm not trying to go too deep here. I'm just telling you what was kind of like an aha moment for me. So 6 represents man, Antichrist. It would make sense that the tribulation would happen during the 6,000th year. Sorry about that. Okay, so then we have the rapture, the trib, and the second coming. Okay? Now, number 7. 7 would be the 7,000, I cannot speak, 7,000th year of earth. This would be Jesus's millennial reign. Okay? Where he comes back to earth, we come back with him, and we reign here on earth for 1,000 years. Taking us into the 8,000th year. 8 in the Bible represents new beginnings. Okay? New beginnings. What does the Bible have to say about what happens after the millennial reign of Jesus, after the tribulation? It says that God will make a new heaven and a new earth. So, does this make sense to you all? It was just, like I said, something that just kind of came to me where I'm like, wow, looking at the numbers 1 through 8, if a day is like 1,000 years to the Lord and 1,000 years is like a day, and we are seeing throughout the history, okay, this Old Testament, Jesus came in at the 4,000th year. Okay, now we're here. I really, truly believe what we're seeing, it all makes sense to this. Okay, hopefully that didn't confuse you all. Especially with it being backwards. But, okay, so with that being said, let's talk about all of the prophecy that has come true, because it is so much. And so many people don't even see it because they're not looking. They fall into, especially with this year, they fall into fear, anxiety, depression. Maybe you're one of those people that you're like, this year has stressed me out so bad. It's just 2020, like what else can happen this year? Well, I understand the humor in that, but I think we also have to be very wise in these times and digging deep for biblical answers and not worldly answers. If you look to the world to explain what's going on right now, your head might explode. There's so many different viewpoints and fake news on all. That's not me pinpointing any news source. That's across the board. You're going to be looking in the wrong place, and you're going to be very confused, and you're going to in prophecy it actually says there's in the last days it's going to be perilous times and men's hearts will fail them. Is that kind of happening right now? I think so. Okay. So let's talk about Matthew 24 a little bit more. Signs that Jesus gave us for us to be looking for the rapture. Okay, so let me explain something. When people say that for the second coming, there's two different events for this. There's the rapture of the church, and then there's the actual second coming for Armageddon. And I'll break it down quickly because this video isn't necessarily this topic specific, but the rapture of the church is where his bride, and that is men, women, children, everybody who believes that he is the Son of God and that he died on the cross and he conquered hell and he saved us. And here's something that I want to say. I just recently heard a story of a woman who was like 80 years old, and for the first time in her whole entire life, she was told that she was good enough to go to heaven, that her sins did not hold her down, that Jesus died on the cross for her and forgave her of everything. And at 80 years old, she came to know Jesus because somebody was bold enough to tell her that, where nobody had ever spoken to her that way before. Pretty powerful. Okay, so the bride of Christ, the people who believe in Jesus, we will be taken out of here before the tribulation. I know it sounds like sci-fi, but read your Bibles. And I was going to mention it later, but maybe I'll go ahead and mention it now. Well, I think I know from memory. We know that this is true because every other prophecy that Jesus fulfilled with his first coming became true. And there is a mathematical problem that somebody did for this, and that they said for one person to fulfill just 8 of the prophecies that Jesus fulfilled, and he fulfilled over 300, I think it's 314, but I could be wrong about that. For one person to fulfill just 8 of those, it would be 1 to the 17th power statistic for statistics. It would be impossible. And so we know through the Bible, we know through other history accounts, we know through personal testimony that the Bible is absolutely real. So we know that if he fulfilled everything with his first coming, he's absolutely going to fulfill everything with his second coming too. So with the rapture of the church, I love this analogy. If you saw your child playing on train tracks and you saw a train coming full speed ahead, wouldn't you grab your child off of those train tracks? It's the same thing. We're here in this world, and the tribulation train, if I can say that, it's full speed ahead right now. And Jesus, he loves us very much. God loves us very much. And we are called the bride of Christ. And there is a whole entire study on the Jewish wedding feast that absolutely, it's like, it gives me goosebumps. It absolutely mirrors the rapture of the church, how the Jewish, with their weddings, how they get engaged, how the bride comes back for his bride. I mean, everything. That's for another time, because that's a whole nother study, but it is absolutely beautiful and amazing. And it absolutely is mirroring the rapture of the church. Okay, so with that being said, where was I? Jesus, okay, and said the second part of the second coming is at the end of the 7-year tribulation. So you have the rapture first, and then you have the 7-year tribulation, and then you have the second coming where the first coming at the rapture, he is in the atmosphere and we all raise up. I don't know if it's going to be us floating or disappearing. I think it's probably going to be disappearing. But then during the 7-year tribulation, we will not be here. And then at the end of the 7-year tribulation, that's when he, Jesus, and the rest of us actually come back and put our feet back on earth, whereas the first one, he doesn't actually come land on earth. Do your research, read the Bible, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so Jesus said that there were birthing pains, signs, to prepare us to know when the rapture of the church, the season that it should be in. We're not to know the day or the hour. It is imminent, but we are supposed to know the season that it will be in. So and when I say the birthing pains, it means that these events will get stronger and closer together until it's time. Okay. So we have my family just got home. We have earthquakes picking up in various places. And I'm going to go through these pretty quick just for time's sake, but please go look these up. This is why in my stories on my page, I am trying so hard to show you all of the different articles all over the world and headlines all over the world pinpointing this stuff. Okay, so we have earthquakes picking up stronger and closer together in various places. We have famines that he said would continue to rise and get stronger. Look at the famine talk right now. They again, back to 2021, the UN, the World Food Organization, they are predicting massive famines in 2021. If you don't know about it, it's because you're not looking. You need to be like, what I do is I have a list of all of the signs, and I have them right here, all of the signs that Jesus said that we would have. And then on a weekly basis, several times a week, I will just look at headlines that have these topics. And that's how I'm getting my stuff, okay? Because I'm not making up these headlines. They're out there. Okay, so famines, pestilences. Hello, Corona. You're just one of many, I'm sure. Okay, so plagues. If you've not been paying attention to the plagues that are out there, they are out there. All over the world, in different continents. So I know Africa really struggled with plagues very heavily this year. The seas and waves roaring, okay? Seas and waves roaring is actually in Luke 21, not Matthew 24, but it's still part of the prophecy that Jesus was talking about. So seas and waves roaring. Okay, how many hurricanes did we have this year? Unprecedented hurricanes, not just here in the Atlantic. If you go and look at I'm forgetting the name of some of the countries that other hurricanes hit this year too, but just look all over the world, every single continent, we are experiencing all of these birthing pains just continue to get stronger and closer together. The headlines of unprecedented, rare, first time ever, of biblical proportions. Is it grabbing your attention? It should be, because that's what God's trying to do. Grab your attention and show you. These are the signs that I told you about that you should know. You should see them. That way you are not taken you're not taken off guard. He talks about a thief in the night. He's only coming as a thief in the night to the people who aren't paying attention. To me, I'm expecting. And everybody else who's watching this, who's studied prophecy, we're expecting him to come very soon. Okay, so signs in the sun, moon, and stars. What has this year brought? For the past 10 years that I've been watching this, we've seen earthquakes pick up. We've seen famines pick up. Some plagues, some pestilences, hurricanes, those kind of things, but never like we've seen this year. Never. If y'all have had a baby or you have known anybody to have a baby, what happens? You'll have some Braxton Hicks, and then you'll think, I felt that. Or if the baby kicks or, you'll have a cramp or something, you'll feel it. And then you'll go, 2-3 days later without anything until, the contractions actually get really, really, really strong. And so now what I'm seeing is while I'm talking about this, people say all the time, oh, my grandma used to say that. She, was really saying that Jesus was coming back in like the 80s, and you turn a blind eye to what's going on. Shame on you for doing that, honestly. Shame on me for doing that when I was doing that. I haven't always studied prophecy, but I did that same thing too at one point. And I'm sorry that I should not have said that. That was a really bad thing for me to say. I love y'all, not shame on anybody, but we should be paying attention to this, okay? And the reason why I'm getting so sidetracked, I'm sorry. Okay, in the history of the world, 70 to 80 years, like I outlined here, 70 to 80 years is a very, very short time. It's not, we just get so instant gratification. We are such an instant gratification society that if it doesn't happen right now, then we completely just toss out the information. But what does Jesus have to say about that? Go look at the parable in Matthew 25 of the 10 virgins parable, where only half of them had enough oil for their lamps, and the other half, only half of them had enough oil for their lamps to withstand the groom, who is Jesus, his delay. He doesn't want, I'm telling you, he is waiting for everybody who possibly can to come to him. And that is the only reason why we're still here, is because more and more people are coming to him, and he's doing all these signs to show us, to have us come to him. Okay. I really got sidetracked there. I'm really sorry. Okay. Signs in the sun, moon, and stars. What has 2020 had here with signs in the sun, moon, and stars? December 21st is a huge, huge sign in our skies, with Saturn and Jupiter aligning. The last time that they aligned and was considered a very, very bright star that we're going to be seeing. And I have been paying attention for the past month at the stars and at Saturn and Jupiter continuing to get closer and closer and closer together. And I'm so excited about it. The last time that we had this was 800 years ago. Prior to that, now, I'm not going to say this as fact because I don't know if it's factual or not, but I have heard from very reliable sources that have been right about a lot of stuff, that the time before that Saturn and Jupiter were aligned this close was the year of Jesus's birth. I mean, to me, I'm like, of course it was. I don't know why it was this close 800 years ago. I'm not a history buff. I don't know what happened 800 years ago for that sign to be in our sky, but I'm sure it was probably important. But my thought process, and again, this is not fact, this is speculation and kind of almost one of those like confirmation pieces, just like I said, the numbers 1 through 8 are where we are in history. This is just another kind of confirmation where I'm like, if people are saying, reliable sources are saying that the conjunction, the Great Conjunction, they're calling it, if the Great Conjunction with Saturn and Jupiter happened during the year of Christ's birth and could possibly be what the wise men saw, the Star of Bethlehem. Okay, so if it's possible, I'm not saying for sure, but if that is a plausible scenario where this specific conjunction happened at his birth, it makes sense that we're going to see it this year too, when we're so close to the second coming as well. Came during his first coming, happened during his second coming too. Kind of interesting. Okay, we're also seeing, have you guys been noticing the fireballs that are all over the world? There was one article that I haven't posted about yet, but just a few days ago, the article said the fireball actually created a sonic boom. And we're seeing them all over. Every continent is seeing this stuff. We're seeing asteroids that NASA didn't even know were close by, and they're zooming past us. And again, headlines saying, largest asteroid ever, coming this close to Earth and whatnot. So why are we seeing that stuff? First of all, because of Luke 21:25, where it says that we will see signs in the heavens, that we will see signs in the sun, moon, and stars. And I also believe that it is a warning for what is coming during the tribulation too, because we know during the tribulation, if you go read Revelation, during the tribulation, there's going to be, asteroids hit the earth, specifically wormwood, which is going to turn the water into pretty much poison. So I believe we're seeing this stuff right now, and there's just continued talk about stuff that's happening in the skies, and we're seeing it with our own eyes. Just really interesting. Okay. This next part is probably the biggest confirmation that I've had to date. It's the dreams and visions that everybody are having. Because in Acts 2, it says, in those last days, your old men will dream dreams and your young men will have visions. Or that might be the other way around, but you know what I mean. Prior to this year, people would have dreams and vision. I'm a dreamer. I'm a very active dreamer. I dream every single night, really strange things, but and I've had dreams in the past that have been really important and I wouldn't call them prophetic or anything like that, but they did to a degree come true years ago. I've had a time where I woke up in the middle of the night and I just felt very heavy to call my mom. And I called her and she had just woken up and felt very heavy to call me. We were states apart. Earlier this year, I actually had a dream about one of my sisters, and I called my mom the next morning and she had almost very, very similar, the same dream. So that's not really about the rapture of the tribulation. I'm just saying I've had a very active dream life. But with this specifically, in this past year, really it's picked up in since June, July, people all over the world are having very similar dreams. And if you just get onto YouTube and you start researching it and you just type in rapture dreams or prophetic dreams, you will see a never-ending list of people their dream might be a little different, but they're all saying the same thing, that God came to them in their dreams and said that the rapture of the church is very soon. I had one of those. I've had 3 very prophetic dreams. I'm not saying I'm a prophet. Please hear me when I say that. I need a drink of water. I am absolutely not saying that. I hope I can be called a teacher, maybe, but that might be even a little much. I'm just a stay-at-home mom who's seeing things for what they are, and I'm just trying to get the word out there. Definitely not a prophet. And I'm not an angel. There's been somebody who told me I'm an angel, and I'm like, oh my goodness, no way. No way. So anyways, but the dreams and visions, there are people all over the world. I mean, Russia, here in the United States, Canada, Mexico, South Africa, Australia, people all over the world are having these dreams and visions, and I cannot get enough of them. I search them out all the time, and I love listening to them. And you'll see people who you can tell that this is so uncomfortable for them to be doing the video, but they felt so strongly that they had to share what God gave them in their dreams. You're having kids, little kids, 4, 5, 6 years old, telling their moms and dads, and then their mom and dad records it because they can't believe what they heard, of having dreams. Oh my gosh, I wish you guys could see all the goosebumps on my arms, even talking about it. These kids telling their moms and dads the dreams that they had that matched other people's dreams in other parts of the world about the rapture happening very soon, that Jesus is coming back very soon. Okay, the dreams and visions are very strong right now, very real, and I truly believe that God is trying to get his people ready. That way, I've told you that I'm kind of needy sometimes with God, where I'm like, please continue to give me the confidence and give me confirmation that what I'm seeing is real, because I'm not going to lie, I put a lot of self-doubt, and I sometimes think I'm crazy, and I know other people think I'm crazy, but then confirmation hits, and I'm like, well, no, I'm not. That's the confirmation that I needed. And the dreams and visions are just a huge part of that, because we're not all talking. The people who are studying this, we're not all talking to each other. I'm not talking to a guy in Norway, and he all of a sudden has a dream similar to a girl in Alabama that I know that just told me a dream, there's no rhyme or reason for it other than that Jesus is telling his people, just like he said in Acts 2, that he is telling his people that he is on his way. Okay. Another part of this is Daniel 12:4, understanding the prophecies. I just told you a little while ago that even just a couple years ago when I was looking at the things that would happen during the tribulation, I'm like, man, how would that even happen? This is so especially here in America, how can some of this stuff happen? We live in a free country. Well, hello 2020. Do we really live in a free country like we used to? We see things that are mentioned in the tribulation. We see them quickly approaching, and now we start to understand how it can actually happen. This was another little confidence thing or a confirmation, that God gave me. Was, y'all, I had never read the book of Enoch. I didn't really know anything about it, but I picked it up back in the summer because I heard some stuff about it. I'm like, I need to read this. The very first part of the book of Enoch says that book is not for anybody but the people for the end. And I should have it here and read it. But anyways, what's interesting about that is, so people say, well, why isn't the book of Enoch in the Bible? Well, the book of Enoch is not in the Bible, but the Bible in two different places refers back to the book of Enoch. It was a book that was known and referenced back during those times, but then it kind of disappeared for a while. Nobody knew where it was. It was gone until what happened. And like I said, in the very beginning, it says that book is specifically for the pretty much the last generation, the people for the end. That book was found in 1948. It was found with the Dead Sea Scrolls when Israel became a nation again. Once again, confirming to me that what Jesus said is absolutely true, that the generation, the 70 to 80 years to see Israel become a nation, we are the last generation. Okay. Let's see. Guys, that was just my first page of notes. Okay. I have so many. Okay. Let's look at disasters as a whole. The whole earth is mourning right now. We are, okay, so the whole earth is mourning. I just kind of went over that. Another prophecy is that in the last days, it will be like the days of Noah. Well, what were the days of Noah like? It was where people were slanderous. They were disobedient towards their parents. They were self-righteous. They were self-consumed. They were lawless. They were lovers of themselves. Does that not sound like today? Are we lovers of self? I know that I am guilty of that sometimes, where, I think about myself too much. And, look at the other things. Are we a lawless world? Absolutely we are. Are we, okay, talk about days of Noah. Days of Noah, there was also DNA manipulation. That's a whole nother topic. But there was very much DNA manipulation going on back in the days of Noah. Go read Genesis if you don't believe me. Oh, do we have DNA manipulation going on right now? Why is that important? It's important because we are made in the image of God. And if we mess with our DNA, we are no longer like the image of God. It's important. And God said, and Jesus said that in the last days, that kind of crap would be going on. And look, we are very much with DNA manipulation. A whole nother topic. If you want more information about that, I have a great podcast that you can listen to about that. Also during the days of Noah, child sacrifices. So I know that abortion doesn't look like a child sacrifice, but let's call it like it is. It has the same outcome, killing babies. Days of Noah. Are we living in perilous times? We absolutely are. That's what Jesus said would happen too. And as a birthing pain before the rapture of the church and before the tribulation starts, is that people would be saying that these are perilous times and men's heart would be failing them. Well, okay, let's talk about the suicide rate that's happened this year. That's gone up. Perilous times. People are confused and hurting and their hearts are failing them. Okay, the next thing, peace and security. It says that when they say peace and security, sudden destruction will come upon them. That's specifically talking about Israel. What's happening with Israel right now? Y'all may not know everything that's happening in the Middle East because our news does not report on it, but we do know one thing. Peace deals, right? Lots of them. And no, Trump is not the Antichrist. I get that question all the time. He's not the Antichrist. The Antichrist is going to be loved by all. Is Trump loved by all? Okay, so peace and security. Israel is right now setting up peace deals with so many nations around them. Yesterday, Morocco went into a peace treaty with them, and it's making Iran and Turkey incredibly mad, and Russia is going to be a part of this too. Okay, so the people in the Ezekiel 38 prophecy, so Ezekiel 38, we don't know if it's going to happen right before the tribulation or right at the start of the tribulation. That's still a little unknown, or at least I don't have that understanding. But we see everything prepared for it. The countries that are supposed to have peace deals with Israel are having peace deals with Israel. The countries that are supposed to continue to get more angry with Israel are getting more angry with Israel. Israel, possibly, should I say? I mean, we all know, just killed the Iranian scientist. I think Iran's pretty happy with them right now. Russia is very, very angry with Israel because Israel just back over, it was in the spring or the summer, but they formed a deal with the European Union to supply gas and oil, taking that away from Russia. So all of the, like, if you have, all of the pieces are being put into place for the Ezekiel 38 war, which is supposed to happen either right at the beginning of the tribulation or or right before the tribulation, I'm sorry. So everything's in place. Okay, wars and rumors of wars. Isaiah 19, Egypt. I don't have a lot of information about that, but please look it up because I do know that it is relevant to what's happening right now. Isaiah 17, Damascus, what happened last week. Damascus, Isaiah 17, it talks about how Damascus will be completely destroyed. About ready to sneeze. Will be completely destroyed. I mean, if you look at Damascus now, it's pretty much almost there. It takes one final blow and it's going to be gone. And last week, what happened? There were things dropped right around the area by Israel, I believe. I don't have a whole lot of information about that, but I do know that Damascus is one blow away from the Isaiah 17 prophecy coming true. Okay, let's see. Okay, so going back, those are the things that Jesus told us to be looking for the rapture of the church. Okay, we're seeing all of that. So now let's look ahead a little bit further and let's talk about the things of the tribulation. And I'm going to do that because I want you to see how the things of the tribulation, we're already starting to get a clear view of as well. And if the rapture of the church happens before the tribulation, which it absolutely does, go look into the Jewish wedding and look at the rapture of the church and see how it correlates. And you'll absolutely see it fully, clearly. But so if we're already seeing the things of the tribulation formulate, how much closer are we to the rapture of the church? In with all of this. It's all coming together. It's the convergence of events. It's that final birthing pain that we're right here. You know, for years, people have said that we're in the last minutes of humanity, or at least this age. And I'll explain that in a minute. We're in the last minutes of the church age. Well, now people are saying we are not just like in the last minutes. Let's talk about, you know, a basketball game. We're not in the last minutes of the game. We're not even in overtime anymore. We're to sudden death. The next point wins. And that's a great analogy. And that's not my own analogy. I got that from somebody else, but it's a great analogy. Okay, so things that we're seeing in the tribulation, or seeing things start to form that will happen in the tribulation. There will be a one world government and a one world monetary system. Okay, let's stop there. One world government. Okay, well, the UN's been around for a long time. I still believe that they're going to grow stronger and at least help assist this one world government. for the first time in history, the whole entire world has a common enemy. Coronavirus. We have a common enemy. And for the first time in history, we're all working together towards attacking that. Okay? One world monetary system. We can already see it. We're going cashless. Venmo, Bitcoin, all of those things. We're getting there. Why is that important? It's important because the Antichrist is going to rise up, and he is going to be the one world leader, and he's going to require something on the hand and something on the forehead. It's most likely going to be like an RFID chip. And man, I could go into that really deep, but I won't for time's sake here because I'm already going really long. But it will be how people buy and sell. And you have to have that as an allegiance to this leader of whoever he's going to be. I don't care who the Antichrist is because I'm not planning to be around when he arises to his position. I absolutely believe he is alive and well, and he's waiting for that time. Okay? I think, so let's talk about, more one world government, one world monetary system. Well, here in the West, America, we say, we would never do that. We would never just completely give ourselves over to one leader. We're a free country, Okay, well, let's look at this scenario. The rapture happens. Millions of people are gone. You're scared to death. You think aliens took a lot of people, because that's probably what they're going to say. And that's in my notes here in a minute. People are scared to death. They're going to, whoever can promise them protection, they're going to do whatever that person says. We're already seeing the one world monetary, or the one world monetary system, as far as you can't buy or sell unless you have this in your hand or your forehead. Okay, I'm not saying the vaccination is the mark of the beast yet. What I do believe is that it has the power to become the mark of the beast, and or it has the power to help whatever the mark of the beast is going to be. No matter what, it is a conditioning thing for us right now. I will absolutely not take it. My kids, my family, we will absolutely not take it. You'd have to kill me first. I will not take that, and I don't think any of you should either. But with that, we're already seeing the news articles and the stuff coming out saying, well, if you don't have the vaccination, you can't do X, Y, Z. You can't travel. You can't whatever. We're seeing those words. My whole entire life, I have known about this stuff. And the fact that we're seeing it is mind-blowing. Talk about conditioning. What do we do when we go into places now? We stick our head to a thermometer, or our wrist or our hand. We stick it up there, at my gym. I have to go, I go in there and I have to do this, and it puts a dot in my forehead and it scans. And I understand it's just a temperature check right now, but it's conditioning to make us feel like all of this is normal. And years ago, when I thought, how could this stuff happen? Look how quickly it happened. Look how quickly we have been conditioned. Oh man, I could go really deep into that. Okay, I'm not going to. The UN Agenda 2030 and the Great Reset, the 2021, the Great Reset. We're seeing that happen. That just continue. Just look it up. We're just continuing to see it happen. Okay, let's talk about alien talk. There are no aliens, first and foremost. Okay, God told us what there is. There are the humans, the earthly bodies. There are the heavenly bodies, angels. And then there are the demonic bodies, demons. I personally have had an experience with a demon, and it was horrific and probably one of the worst things in my life. So scary. But I knew what it was, and I knew how to stop it. Most people don't know how to stop it, and so most people don't recognize it for what it is. So do you think it's plausible that these demons are having a great deception over the world, pretending to be aliens in the sky or whatever it may be, or not whatever it may be, but aliens in the sky, UFOs, or experiences with aliens or whatever, those are straight up demons, and they are deceiving people. And what is going to happen is when the rapture happens, they're going to blame it on aliens. Look at the conditioning that we've already been, for the past couple years, for the past, Independence Day, that movie, right? That was probably, for me at least, the first like real alien thing that I had ever seen. But even just this year, what have we seen? We've seen the Pentagon and other major military sources in other countries start to release these unclassified documents of there being alien life. Straight demonic. That's what it is. But they're going to use it. And that's what they're going to blame the rapture on. Or at least in my viewpoint, that's going to be what they blame the rapture on. Talking about that, let's move into the false prophet. I already told you I believe that the Antichrist is here and alive and well. He's not risen to power. Let me be very clear. He's not risen to power yet. Or at least he's not made himself known yet. But let's talk about false prophet. Because the false prophet is going to be the person who helps the world move forward with the Antichrist. I absolutely believe the false prophet is alive and well. And I'm going to say something that might be... ruffle some feathers, and it's okay. I did not publicly say all this stuff a few years ago because, again, I felt it. I thought that I was correct, but you never want to put that on somebody. But this one particular person just continues to prove, yeah, I think so. I could be wrong, but I think so. I think the Pope is the false prophet. Let me say that with this information. Do you guys know about the prophecy of the popes? The prophecy of the popes. So this is not biblical. This is not in the Bible. But just because it's not in the Bible doesn't mean that God hasn't spoken to other people throughout history. He's spoken to me. So I know he can speak to other people. There was an archbishop, and I'm not Catholic, guys. So forgive me if I'm saying some of this stuff wrong. There was an archbishop, I think it was back in the 1600s, maybe 1400s. Forgive me for not having that information. Who said that God told him from that pope until the end. And he numbered all of the popes. And he gave characteristics for all of the popes. And they're all right. And this pope is, in the prophecy of the popes for this archbishop, is the very last pope. So the pope before him, cannot think of his name. Not Catholic, don't really care. Can't think of his name. But when he resigned, I was like, oh, because that was part of the prophecies of the Pope. And I knew that this last Pope was key to us being, was not key, but more confirmation that we are in the last generation. Okay. Isn't it interesting? And I when I do my studies and my classes on all of this information, my class about the Pope is a 2-night class. There's a lot of information. I don't have time for that right now. Okay, but isn't it interesting that the Vatican has a telescope here in the United States called Lucifer? Interesting. I'm not saying if you're Catholic that you're in the wrong or anything like that, because it is not my place or anybody else's place to judge how somebody comes to Christ. Okay? What I am saying is that there are false prophets out there ready to deceive every single one of us. There are false prophets in the Protestant churches. There are false prophets in the Catholic churches. There are false prophets in families. And we have got to be careful, and we cannot be deceived. And just because the Pope is sitting up here in this organization and everybody for thousands of years, or whenever the papacy started, I don't really know because again, not Catholic. Whenever the papacy started, people have put this particular person, whoever it may be, on these pedestals. That's a dangerous thing to do because the only person that we should ever put on a pedestal is Jesus. When Jesus died on that cross, that veil in the temple tore. And I don't know if you all know, but that veil was incredibly thick. And it tore in two from top to bottom. What did that veil or curtain, what did it have behind it? It had behind it the innermost room where that is where only one rabbi could go in one time a year, because that is where God was the most, or at least his spirit. I don't really understand all of that, but I know that when that veil torn in two, that was representation that we directly have a line to God, that we don't need to go through anybody else. We can speak to God. Okay. All right. Let's go back to the deceptions that are happening. There are so many deceptions that are out there, and we've got to weed through them, and we've got to be in prayer, and we've got to be reading our Bible, and we need to make sure that we are asking God to let us not be deceived and to not accidentally deceive anybody else, because that weighs on me so heavy. Even when I'm talking to you here, it weighs on me so heavy to not say anything that could be deceptive, that my words are completely God's, and that he's talking through me so that you guys can understand where we are. So the Bible tells us exactly what we are supposed to be looking for and what is to come. However, if people are not, Jesus followers, and they don't understand, Bible prophecy, like I said in the very beginning of this video, that leaves the door wide open for Satan to deceive you, because the world is saying very similar things, but it's driven through Satan, and it's not correct. Satan has a way of making something sound so correct, but it's off, or making something almost perfect, but it's off. It's not God's word. So let me kind of go through some of the things, the deceptive talk that's out there right now. I already told you that December 21st, Saturn and Jupiter are going to be in line for the Great Conjunction. You know what people are saying about that? The New Age thought is out there, and it is strong. And I am so saddened to say that it is in the church. The New Age theologies are in the Christian church, because we have not kept our guard up. We have not kept the armor of God on, and we have let things in that should have never, ever come in. But we're human, and Satan is here to deceive and steal and, kill us. And so I'm not perfect. I've done things where, I was told later, or I learned later that I shouldn't be into XYZ or whatever, because that's actually New Age, the New Age religions and stuff. So the December 21st, Great Conjunction. The New Age thought, what people are teaching, people who are into astrology. Now, astronomy is astronomy is fun, looking at the sun, moon, stars, seeing where everything is. But astrology is very dangerous, and you should not touch it. In fact, it is specific in the Bible that we should not be playing with that. But they're calling it the year of the year of the Aquarius, and we're moving into a year coming into 2021 again. That things are going to change drastically, and the people who are in alignment with the earth and with whatever their New Age crap is, those are going to be the people that are prosperous, and that, what else have they said? I can't remember, but it's very it dives deep into astrology. We cannot do that. Okay. For the past several months, there's also been this very New Age theology out there, and it's really hitting a lot of the younger populations because of TikTok. So be careful of TikTok if you have teenagers. I know that there's a great movement for, spreading the gospel on TikTok as well. Fine, but just be careful of the other side that's out there too, is that we are all about ready to be transcended into the next realm. Okay? So it sounds similar to the rapture, but it's not. It comes from false theology, and it's completely demonic what these people are saying. They have given their minds over to demonic thoughts, and they're being led astray, and they're being deceived. And so they're saying that back during that earthquake in Japan, 2011, I believe, that we shifted and we came right into, I don't follow this too closely because it's demonic, but I like to kind of keep my ears open to hearing what the other side is saying, because it's confirmation for me to know that we are where we are for a purpose, and that the rapture is true, and that all of this is happening so fast. So anyways, that we moved over into like another dimension where this next dimension is very, very close, and the atmosphere in between this next dimension is very, very thin. So we're 3D. And they're saying that we've moved very close to the 5D, where if you have all your chakras aligned and all these other new age things, that you'll be able to transcend into the 5D realm and live happily ever after there, I guess. But anyways, be careful of that. The transcendence thing is very, very strong right now. So the transcendence and the rapture are not the same thing. I just want you to know that. The transcendence, the New Age thought with that is that you are in charge of your own destiny, and the earth has all this kinetic energy in it, and that if we do X, Y, Z, we'll be able to move into the heaven realms or whatever. But it leaves out Jesus, it leaves out God, it leaves out the cross, and that Jesus died for our sins, and that we actually are nothing without him, and that we can't do anything because it is not by works, it is by grace alone that we get to heaven. Whew, this sneeze. Holding it back. Okay. So those are the two thought processes. You have like all of the astrologists who are saying that we're moving into the age of Aquarius. We have all the New Age people saying that we're going to move into a transcendence very soon. Okay, let's talk about the third one, because this was more confirmation for me. We know the book of Revelation, or the people who study this, we know the book of Revelation, we know rapture, tribulation, all of this. But Satan also knows all of this as well. Satan knows the Bible. He knows it way better than we do. And his demons know it way better than we do too. And in this year, there have been numerous accounts of people saying that they've had demons coming to them, saying that they're preparing the way for the tribulation as well. That they are preparing their armies or whatever, but they're preparing the way for the tribulation because it's very close. And the people who follow the Satanic Church, back in June, there was a worldwide march. I mean, I know Ohio, where I used to live, there were 3 cities that were partaking in this. And then all over the world, here in America, Russia, China, Australia, France, I went onto the event pages and I just looked and searched because I like to keep my enemies closer sometimes, and I like to understand what they're saying too, because it's more confirmation to me that yes, we are in these times. The enemy knows that his time is short, and these worldwide marches specifically said that the book of Revelation is coming true and is about to happen, and we need to all be in one world march for the tribulation. These are the satanic people, the people who follow the Satanic Church, and it happened. If that side is saying it, and the people who study Bible prophecy, we're saying it, and then you have all these people in the middle who are like New Age thought, like, oh, transcendence, oh, it's just, like the age of Aquarius. And then you have the people who are also caught in the middle of like, oh, it's just 2020, like what else is going to happen? You guys, stuff is real. Okay. Everyone has a thought about what's going to happen next. You have the elitists who are here for the Great Reset. They believe that there's only a certain amount of people who should, survive. What is it, like 500,000? Something like that? My numbers might be off again. But still, we have like 7 billion, 8 billion people, and they want to drastically take it down. So the elitists have the Great Reset that they want. The New Age religions, I already told you about what they want. They want to transcend into the next realm. And then we have the demonic people who, or the Satan worshipers who are also saying that the tribulation is going to start, which I cannot for the life of me. If you know the book of Revelation and you still choose to follow Satan, okay, good luck. And then you have the Jesus followers who we know what Jesus said is real. And going back to, if he fulfilled every single prophecy in his first coming, we can only expect for him to fulfill every single prophecy in his second coming, and it's going to happen. And we know the end of the book. If you don't know the end of the book, go read it. Okay. Guys, okay. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, we still have so much more. Okay, Israel and the Middle East and the third temple. Let's talk about that. Let me just take a pause real fast. I want to come back here. This whole 1948 to 2028 and the year 2021, okay? So if you're just now watching, Israel became a nation in 1948. Jesus said that this generation shall not pass until, this generation shall not pass who sees Israel become a nation again. The Bible says that a generation is 70 to 80 years. 1948 to 2018 was 70. We're at the 72-year mark, and 2028 will be the 80th year. You subtract 7 years for the tribulation, and we're at the year 2021. I'm not saying that it's an absolute that the tribulation and the rapture is going to happen within the next year. I'm just saying, wow, isn't this interesting? And then we're seeing all of this stuff that I've already said and all of the stuff that I'm going to continue to say happen this year. Okay? So Israel, the Middle East, and the third temple. Why is the third temple important? The third temple is where the Antichrist will set up, and in the 7-year tribulation, in the middle of it, at the 3.5-year mark, he's going to do something really bad there. We don't know what that is. It's called the abomination of desolation. I have a thought on what it could be, but it doesn't matter. It's speculative right now. At that 3.5-year mark, he's going to do something really bad there, and the Jewish people that are here for the tribulation, they're going to realize, oh, this is not the Messiah that we thought he is. This is the Antichrist. And they're going to flee to Petra and start spreading the gospel through that. But let's go. So with this, if Israel was destroyed in 70 AD by the Babylonians and was not a nation until 1948, none of these prophecies could have happened until then. And now we're seeing here at what I think is the very end, we're seeing all of this happen. So not only is Israel thriving, absolutely thriving, if you go look at what ranks Israel is in the world with their military, with their science, with their health, with their oil, with all of this stuff, they are up there as a leading world power. Israel is the size of the state of New Jersey. Why are we so focused on this little tiny thing? This little tiny country. Israel is, it's not, compared to the rest of the countries, we should not be this focused. But why? We're focused on it because it's God's territory. Man, I'm so sorry if I end up sneezing. It is said that that is where, or it's thought that is where God had his feet when he was creating everything. That is his special spot. And that is why the whole world is just drooling over it. They're either obsessed with it, they're either angry and want the land, or they're either in the land. And so we just, as a whole entire world, we're constantly looking at Israel when mathematically the size of it should not matter. But it does. Okay, so the third temple in 70 AD, the second temple was destroyed. Jesus said it would be, and his disciples were like, "What? How could you say that?" Well, it was destroyed. And then, excuse me. And then it has not been rebuilt yet. So why is that important? The Jewish people do not believe that their Messiah, they already missed Christ. They missed his first coming because they were expecting like a kingly figure to come instead of somebody who was not a kingly figure. He is the King of all kings. He came his first time very unkingly. He will come his second time and everybody will know he's king, okay? So they missed his first coming. A lot of them did. So they believe that their Messiah will not be able to come until the temple is completely rebuilt. So they are actively trying to get their temple built because they want their Messiah. Well, we know that they missed Christ, the true Messiah. So who are they going to look at as being the Messiah? It's going to be the Antichrist. The Bible already tells us this. But their eyes are blinded to all of this. It does say that God, he will like put a shield over people's eyes. You know, if they continue to disown him, he will harden their hearts. And that's what's happened with a lot of the Jewish people, is that they have hard hearts and they are not, they do not see Jesus for who he is. So they are trying to build that third temple again so that their Messiah can actually come into the world. So where are we with the third temple then? The plans for the third temple are completely in place. They say that they can have that third temple built in a mere couple of months. A couple of months. So can travel down this road with me, okay? Sorry. So this year alone, there has been so much done to get that temple prepared. Jerusalem is now looked at as the capital of Israel. The Dome of the Rock, if you ever look at a picture of Jerusalem, you'll see the mosque with the gold dome. Well, for a long time, everybody's been like, how can they rebuild their temple if the Dome of the Rock is there? There's no way that they're going to tear down that mosque, or, no way that they're going to be allowed to tear down that mosque in order to build the third temple. Well, what's really interesting is that they just discovered, I think it was in the past year and a half, that Dome of the Rock is not actually on temple grounds. It is considered the outer courts of where the third temple should actually be. And if you go to Revelation, it actually talks about this again. Another prophecy that's coming true is that it says specifically, don't worry about the outer courts. Those are for the Gentiles. So isn't it interesting here, right when all of these other prophecies are coming true, the Dome of the Rock is actually not on the Temple Mounds, and they actually have discovered where the Temple Mounds should be. I'm just saying, it's just really interesting. Another huge part of that, and part of the temple, is that the red heifer, the red cow that has to be sacrificed in order for the temple to be cleansed, is ready. They have been trying to produce a perfect red heifer, a spotless red heifer. I mean, there's so much that goes into like this red heifer being incredibly spotless, that they've been trying to produce one for years and they haven't been able to do it. And back in September, we were told by the Temple Institute, it's not just some Uncle Joe or something telling me this, it's the Temple Institute out of Israel did videos saying they have 2 candidates for their red heifer, and one, I mean, they have a lot of red heifers, but 2 specifically that they're looking at that could be the spotless one. One specifically looks like it absolutely will be the red heifer that will be sacrificed in order for the temple to be built. Not to be built, to be able for the temple to be cleansed. Again, they've been trying to do this for years, and now here in 2020, they have it. They have gone very silent about the red heifer since then. And the reason why is because they have the red heifer in hiding. If people knew that, like, let's say the, PETA doesn't want to see a cow get killed, or, like the Islamic Nation, they might try to blemish the red heifer. So they actually have it in hiding, and we're not going to hear any more about the red heifer. From what I understand, we're not going to hear any more about the red heifer until it's actually been sacrificed. But back in September, we did find out that the candidate for the spotless red heifer is valid. Again, just so much happening in 2020. So much. Let's talk about another thing. For the first time since 70 AD, this Passover, this previous Passover for 2020, they were allowed, the Jewish people were allowed to sacrifice a lamb on the Temple mounds. They built a little altar, and I know this sounds harsh for all you animal lovers, but this is just what they do, okay? And they were never allowed to sacrifice their Passover lamb on the Temple mounds, but they did that this year. If each of these things happened, and then there was years in between, it would probably not be so impactful. But these are the birthing pains that I'm telling you about. We can't keep up. There's so much happening that this year 2020 this confirmation just keeps getting stronger and stronger for me. Now, if we're here in 2022, I'll come back and just say, and this is not a matter of being right and wrong. So I won't say that I was wrong, because I'm not saying that this is an absolute. What I'm saying, it's very plausible. But I'm also saying that God said that he would shorten the days so that, or that he would shorten the days during the tribulation. If he didn't, then no man would survive. So our timing could be off a little bit here, but it can't be off 20, 30 years. It could be off maybe a few. But I think just as humanity, we are at the very, very last little bit of time frame. And so for you and your families, your main goal should be to get your family as close to Jesus as possible. Okay. Listen to this. The Jewish people think. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. I went too far. Let me go back to the temple again. Through DNA testing, they already know who will be allowed to work in what positions in the third temple. They know the Sadducees. They know the people who can, do all of the tasks. And with the temple, you have to have a certain lineage to be able to do certain jobs. And through DNA testing, they already know, and they already have it all set up. They already have their people in place to be able to do the jobs. So they have the plans for the temple. They say they can get it built in just a few months. They have the red heifer to sacrifice. They have the people to work it. They already know which jobs, which people are doing. And they sacrificed the Passover lamb this year for the very first time since 70 AD. And there was something else, and they found that it's not actually on the Dome of the Rock, but it's just a little over to the side to where the Dome of the Rock is in the outer courts, just like Revelation said it would be. Okay, so everything, they're just waiting for the right check marks to be checked off in politics for it to be a go. Well, look what has happened this year. Israel is so focused, or the world is so focused on Israel with all these peace deals and all of this. I see it very, very plausible that it's going to be a thumbs up for the third temple very, very soon. Oh, and then also they already have the coins that will be traded in the temple. They already have those made up as well. They didn't have all of this, not even last year. It's all ready, okay? Okay, so, yeah. Okay, this is really important. Oh, I'm on my last page. Okay, this is very, very important. Very highly respected rabbis in Israel. Very highly respected. Back in September, late August, early September, they came out officially and said that they have been meeting with the Messiah. Now remember, it's not Jesus. They rejected Jesus. Who are they meeting with? They have been meeting with their Messiah, and he will reveal himself within the next year. That this past Feast of Trumpets, which was in September, that was the last Feast of Trumpets that we would go through without the Messiah. Interesting that they say that when all of this other stuff is happening, and that they're saying that 2021, their Messiah is going to make himself known. Now, there's two different thought processes with this. I've heard that they actually could be meeting with the Antichrist, or that they're meeting with demonic bodies that they're just meeting with like demons. So either one, that doesn't matter as much to me. What matters is that very highly respected rabbis, leaders in Israel that rejected Christ years ago, or 2,000 years ago, are now saying that the Messiah, who we know that they, whether it be this person or not, they will call the Antichrist the Messiah for the first 3.5 years of the tribulation until the Antichrist does that horrible act in the temple. So, interesting that they're saying that, right? Okay, two more things I'll go over. Another thing that we're seeing on the rise is the Christian and Jewish persecution. Christian persecution has happened for centuries. We know that, okay? But in places that there were freedoms, we're seeing them being taken away and Christian persecution happening. Here in America, we're seeing that. I think it's only going to continue to get worse, and until the rapture happens. And then during the tribulation, it's really important for y'all to know, you have your window of opportunity to come to know Jesus right now, because as soon as the rapture happens, the Holy Spirit goes with the Jesus followers, and the Holy Spirit is not here anymore. And that makes it extremely hard to get your relationship with Jesus. But if you do, there will be people who come to know Jesus during the tribulation. If you do, it does say that you will be killed for your faith, most likely beheaded. So just do it now. I mean, I don't know why anybody would wait. Okay. The last thing that I wanted to mention, with all of this going on, with this time frame, with what with what God, showed me back in 2017 about 2021 being a very special, big year, I've had my eyes on CERN as well. I've had my eyes on CERN for the past 5 years. CERN is over in Geneva, Switzerland. It is the hydrogen collider that, it's very scientific. It goes way over my head, way over my head. But what I do know is what they're trying to do, and what they have been trying to do for the past 5 years. It sounds very sci-fi. I get that, but I'm not making up these headlines. Go look them up for yourself. CERN is trying to, what they say is that they are trying to open up portals to the next dimension. And they feel like they could do that they're working on that. That's what their whole goal is to open up these portals to the next dimension. It's interesting to me that the statue in front of CERN is Shiva, the goddess of destruction in the Hindu religion. First and foremost, if I have a business, I would never use Shiva, the goddess of destruction, because I want it to not be destroyed. But if you look further into this, what happens in Revelation that looks like what CERN is trying to do? Could CERN be the key to the abyss that God uses to... So in Revelation, during the tribulation, God says that he's going to open up the key to the abyss, and he's going to let the demons just completely run wild here. I mean, they're already here, but they're here in deceptive ways. During the tribulation, it's not going to be deceptive. It's going to be torment. Okay? And so it seems like that. I'm not saying this is an absolute. What I'm saying is that it looks like it could be a plausible way for that to happen if CERN has this agenda, which they do. Okay? Oh my gosh, I just got through all of my notes. And there's so much more that I didn't even tell you. I kind of like just touched on each topic, but I didn't go deep into each topic. But I wanted to do this so badly, and I have wanted to do it for so long, because you see that I am throwing out headlines to you all of Look at these earthquakes. Look at these hurricanes. Look at Israel. Look at Ezekiel 38. Look at this. Look at that. But I don't think that I've ever actually clearly, I've written all of this up. I did that back in June. I wrote it all up. I attached headlines. But we know, let's just call it like it is, Facebook algorithms, they want videos. And so I've never done just specifically video saying, back in 2017, God told me that the year 2021 was going to be special. Please hear me. I'm not saying that the rapture is an absolute for 2021. What I am saying is, what else are we going to see in 2021 that's going to get us even closer? Now, do I think it's possible? I absolutely think it's possible. Do I think it would not surprise me. Let me say this. It would not surprise me if it happened within the next year. It would not surprise me one bit. Would it surprise me if we're in 2022 and I'm looking around, I'm like, well, it didn't happen? Maybe a little bit, it would a little bit, only because I see this fast moving train with all of this information, just like the confirmation, bam, 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 bam. Like, I cannot get through a day without having so much more confirmation thrown at me where like, oh, this piece, this headline, they're all matching everything that Jesus said would happen. So, but if we get to 2022 and it hasn't happened, oh my goodness, what did we just go through in 2021? Well, I know that famines are coming. How is that going to hit America and like the middle class, upper class? I don't know. I don't know how it's going to hit those categories, but I do know that the headlines are saying that that's at least coming. I know that the Jewish rabbis are saying that their Messiah is going to be shown or come to light in 2021. I know this UN world agenda, one world agenda, is quickly moving forward. I know the vaccination, while it may not be the mark of the beast yet, I know what I'm hearing about it has the possibility to become that later down the road, or at least help usher in the mark of the beast later down the road. I see all of these things. And I just think back to 2017 when God told me 2021 was going to be important. And I just think, wow. All this confirmation. I don't even know how long this video's been, but I hope you all can see the confirmation. If you have anything that you want to share, headlines that you're seeing, information that God's given to you, drop them in the comments. Get on YouTube and start listening to people's dreams and visions about Jesus, specifically telling people in every country or in every continent, all over the world, that he's coming soon. What does soon look like? I don't have that answer, but I know it's soon. So, yeah, that's all I have. I love you all so much. Please let me know if you have any questions. I get really, really, really delayed in responding because I get so many messages every single day, but I do my best to respond as fast as I can. But I love you all. Let me just say this really fast. Going back to the Bible is 1/3 of prophecy, but only 1/3 prophecy, but 98% of churches don't teach on it. If you have any kind of leadership in your church, please do your congregation, justice and teach about what's going on, because it's important that they know. It's so important that they know. So, okay, I love you all, and thank you for sticking with me and thinking I'm not crazy. All right, bye.